I move that that the select board moves from the executive session into public session at this time. I second that. All in favor? Would you please have everyone stand for the
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
What is your pleasure for the consent agenda?
I move that we accept the agenda as presented.
Second. All in favor? Our next select board meeting is Thursday, July 28th at 5:30, and we will be returning to the town hall. So we will, unless we have some huge outbreaks of COVID, we will start meeting at the town hall. Any select board announcements? So we're going to go into business item number 1, Casella Waste Systems contract renewal discussion. Members of Casella's management team are here to address service-related concerns and to discuss their plans to correct building hazards identified in a recent property survey performed by the town's insurer. The meeting is intended to inform the terms of renewal of the solid waste and recycling contract, which expires September 30th, 2022. Where would you like to start?
That's up to you. You can start with questions or
Speak up, please.
We should open it to comments from
comments.
the town.
So I know there's some people here with some concerns related to Casella and the contract that we currently have with them. So why don't we start there and hear citizens' concerns or maybe some things that they would like to see different in the contract coming forward. David?
Just one,
As everyone speaks, please state your name so we can write it for the record.
name behind the seat. When you were here a couple months ago, somebody you stated you were going to have a local phone number to call the West Bath office. Has that phone number been established yet?
Yeah, I believe sorry, Chris McHale. I believe we've given Mark's number and myself. I know I've received a few calls from the town, but yeah, I believe we provided our cell phone numbers.
That's correct. We have them at town hall, so complaints siphon through us, and then we relay them to Casella, rather than overwhelming them with townspeople.
The second question is, have you improved your line of communications when you call the toll-free number and they assure you they're coming to pick stuff up at 3 o'clock in the afternoon? And you say, well, they won't. And then you're told they'll pick it up Saturday. You don't pick up on Saturday. So if you address that communication problem with your dispatchers or your service reps.
I have not specifically addressed that, but I certainly will.
Well, that was one of my complaints several times.
Yep.
To be told, we'll be by Saturday, when I know you won't be there Saturday. So I don't appreciate being lied to.
Yep, we can definitely address that. I guess I didn't realize that had happened.
More than once.
Yep. So yeah, we will address that with our customer service department, as you're mentioning, is in Rutland, Vermont.
Right.
And they take a lot of calls, and that might be some clarity they need from us at the local level to understand how to take those calls. So we can definitely address that for sure.
Thank you.
Rebecca Valley. I'm across the road from Casella. We have A, a rat issue, B, a turning issue. I've requested for the last 3 years for the town manager to get a hold of DOT and Casella, and I've called both DOT and Casella to have a road study done because of the turning traffic. The BIW dives into our driveway to get around your turning trucks or the traffic. Then we have an issue at 3 o'clock in the morning. Jake breaks coming down the hill. I was told that's not true, but myself and another neighbor are cambered up. I can prove your truck's coming at 3:15 in the morning with Jake breaks down the hill, and then you guys are doing it at 9:30 to 10 o'clock at night.
I was not aware of the turning issue. We will definitely, I can look into the trucks coming early in the morning. We do have trucks that leave to go out on a route early in the morning. It's usually around, I would say around 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning to do.
And Jake
yeah.
breaks, that's,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah, we do have trucks leaving the yard that early in the morning.
I thought the contract specified hours of operation 6 to 6.
I think that's to operate the transfer station itself.
You came to the meeting last time, and when we brought up this issue, you said there was no vehicles in there at that time.
I think I've always said that we have vehicles leaving, they just aren't servicing anything, so it's just leaving the property at that
But
point.
I specifically expressed to you that it sounded like tailgates banging or something going on in there. You said nothing like that.
That should not, like if it's like a banging of a container, something service related, we are currently not doing that. As far as trucks leaving, yes, we probably do have trucks leaving early in the morning, and we can definitely talk about adjusting those times.
I just gotta say, each time you're here, feels like your story changes a little
Yeah.
bit. So let's get this, everything out, be clear and honest, so we can move forward with this, get a contract, and stop half the story. We want the whole story.
Yeah, so we have trucks who leave early in the morning to go out to service the communities. The challenge with your front load commercial trucks, which we park here, is there's a lot of, in Brunswick and Bath, they have to get to certain locations before parking lots fill up, and it's kind of race against time to be able to provide those types of services. So that is why those trucks do leave early in the morning. We have made it very clear to the drivers that they are not to service anything that would cause additional noise that early in the morning. They shouldn't be having their Jake brakes on, so we can also.
Well, and it says vehicle access hours are 4 a.m.
Yeah, the earliest.
The earliest is 4 a.m. Nothing
Yeah.
should be there before, that's on page 7.
Yeah, so 4 a.m. Yeah, so we will, if we have guys leaving earlier in the morning, we will definitely adjust that time.
And it says there should be no more than 2 vehicles from 4 a.m. to 6 p.m. Egress of no more than 2 vehicles.
From 4 a.m. to 6.
Item 3,
Yeah, that shouldn't be an ordinance. It's 2 trucks that go out really early in the morning.
okay. Okay.
Mike Hennessy. What is the penalty when there is a violation?
I'm sorry, say
What
that.
is the penalty when there is a violation? And if not, why not?
We are in the process of writing
No,
a
I know.
contract.
Just come in.
No, that's something that's been discussed, and we'll have that conversation with.
Yeah, we would definitely be open to having that in the future contract.
For public relations, there needs to be a bulletin board with the price list. And the price list which states which town that price list is for. Because when I look at the town's website, I see one list that was on the contract. And the guy that says, no, this is Casella's price list, it's not good for either side.
So can I have a question before you answer that.
Yep.
On the host fee, it says on solid waste disposal, the town shall not be responsible for paying tipping fees for disposal of any solid waste generated within the town of West Bath, whether it's handled by Pine Tree or another hauler. We interpret that as we shouldn't be paying any fees when we bring that to your facility. Is that accurate?
I guess I'm gonna have to look at that. You say, can you please repeat that?
So on page 5,
Yep.
I'm sorry, page 6, item C, solid waste disposal. I'll read that again. Solid waste disposal, the town should not be responsible for paying tipping fees for the disposal of any solid waste generated within the town of West Bath, whether it's handled by Pine Tree or another hauler. We interpret that as we should not be paying anything at the landfill.
That's been taken to mean the municipality itself, not the
Yeah,
taxpayer.
when I took that as, like, if you have, like, we did it a little while ago, that you had some boats you had to get rid of, we just, you know, you brought it in, we didn't charge you for that. I didn't, we don't interpret that as all the residents in the town are.
Yeah, I think that could be clarified.
Just want to, we talked about that tonight, we can just clarify.
Yeah,
that.
so if the town has something going on where you're gonna tear something down, then yes, we're not gonna charge the town for that disposal, or, you know, we take that. But if it's a resident who gets a dumpster because they're tearing down their shed, then there will be there's a cost.
So that, because I wanted to tie that before you answered his fee payment, what that
Yep.
clarification. So now please address this.
And I'm not quite done. The demo trailer in particular, and the trash in particular on the Tuesdays and Saturdays, there is nobody looking for tags. And it's really not all that much, but I'm not sure. I'm sure that there is much Brunswick, Woolwich trash going into demo and going into municipal trash on Tuesdays and Saturdays. Don't have a particular opinion about it, but it needs to be one way or the other. Either it's not on the town's table, or it needs to be isolated between towns. And I don't think either side has the manpower to do that.
Yeah, so I agree with you. I think we struggle with the tags, especially when we open up and we get bombarded by a large group. We have struggled managing the tag program. There's not a financial burden to the town on that.
Well, we lose the revenue because we get it at a reduced rate.
Yes, you're right.
So
Yeah.
we are losing,
Yeah.
if Brunswick is
You're correct.
coming on our nickel.
Yeah, so yes, I don't think I think we've done an okay job deterring it, but yeah, I think there's a lot of people in West Bath who don't have the sticker, who use it, and, you know, there's a lot of people who come from out of state. And, so, yeah, it's been a challenge, there's no disposal charge to the town. To your point, yeah, you would lose typically the $1.65 on that they should be going across the state. We try to manage it. We do. It just gets overwhelming when you have a large group of people there.
I saw a hand back here somewhere. Okay.
Yes, Walt Drucker. I lived in this town right next to occupational health for 46 years. Seen a lot of changes over the years. Started out not too bad, but when new people come in, you want a little more of the pie, more piece of the pie. Keep on changing things. You start, my wife works at OSHA. Jake breaks, I'm a truck driver, Class A. I know what the hell a Jake break is. When I hear it at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, I know what it is. And your guys are wrong for doing that.
Yeah, and I apologize if, you know, that's.
Apologize. What?
Well, you know, that's what we're here for. We'll address those items, and, you know, we do have a third party in there, and we may have to talk to our tractor trailer, third parties that are coming in. It's been a challenge, getting people in, and they come when they
And
can.
it's been a challenge for us.
Yep.
Picking us up. My wife don't get home till midnight. Gets to sleep, 2:30, 3 o'clock, 3:30 in the morning, trucks coming in. And we're leaving. So, and I don't think originally that was the plan.
Yeah, no, it should be, we have a 4 o'clock that, you know, if we're,
What was the cutoff at night, 10 o'clock?
No, it's
Curfew?
6 to 6.
They go to 10 to
Okay,
midnight.
so vehicle access, Monday through Saturday, is 4 to 8 p.m. 4 to 6 p.m. shall be limited to the egress of no more than 2 vehicles.
4 to 8 p.m. is for.
Hold on, that's summer hours. Regular hour, winter hours are 6 to 6. So 6 to 8 during the summer, 6 to 6 during winter.
Okay, what does 3 fall into that?
It doesn't.
Okay. You get my point?
Got it.
Yeah. It needs to be changed.
Yeah.
We are fully aware.
Yeah.
I am
That's
those
why we're
people
here.
that go to work every morning at 3:30 and pass at least 2, 3, maybe 4 of your trucks. And they're not just your truck. You're right, there is another third party.
Yeah, we've been challenged with our third parties. That, there's not a lot of people out there that are in the truck driving business right now, and there's a shortage of trying to move this material. And yeah, I believe some of them have been trying to, they probably skirted those hours to try to just get the work done, and we can address that for sure.
So we should only be seeing 2 trucks leaving.
Yep.
And it's after 4 a.m., not before.
Correct.
Currently, as this is written. As this is written.
promised us this before.
Yeah, the discussion we had prior was more about the servicing around this area, which, is what we put a stop to, which was, we had drivers in here banging containers, which obviously creates a lot of noise. And I think we've put a stop to that. I will say, it's not right now, we were gonna put GPS units in the trucks. This fall to winter, we're hoping to have, I know it's coming, hoping to have it by fall to winter. We're not only going to have the GPS units in the trucks, they're also going to have cameras in them that we're going to be able to see what they're doing at all times, to be able to play that back. So if you think there was someone calls in and says, you were in, a parking lot at, 4:30 in the morning banging a container, I'm going to be able to see live footage of that if that actually did that. So we are putting in some more technology to help us regulate the drivers.
In the meantime, how do the neighbors sleep?
So we need to hold them accountable for the hours that we have, and we'll put GPS. I've already purchased some of the GPS units. It doesn't have the containers. The cameras in them, but so we can at least monitor our guys, and they can. There's nothing they can say if it's not GPS. We'll start putting those in some of the trucks.
Yeah, Steve Reno, the road commissioner.
Yep.
I have a problem with your trucks. I've noticed that when you come down, excuse me, when you come down the hill just before the gate, your trucks always seem to stop there and wait. And for the last 10 years, you have been just breaking away the road, always pushing the ditch right over, making a complete mess. I've fixed it, the town's paid for it for over the last 5 or 6 years. So we basically need you to stop parking there, or your trucks and sit there waiting.
Oh, you're saying that they're parking not at the very end of the road, or
Right up on top of the hill, just before the gate opens.
you know what you're
Right
talking
where
about?
it's going
Exactly
out.
what you're talking about.
Right. We've already fixed it this year, and I see it's getting bad again already.
Yeah, we can talk through that. I think what it is
That's a third party.
the third party ones. Yeah, what they do is I think they pull off and they got their scale ticket in and they do their paperwork. We can talk to them about doing the paperwork while they're on the scale.
And another suggestion I'd like to make is to put a sign up, no Jake between certain hours.
Absolutely.
Maybe
Can you
we
spell that? I just want to make sure I'm getting it properly. No what?
Jake breaks,
Jake?
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure I had it. That's how I spelled it, but I want to make sure.
so if we set the time, let people sleep in or work second shift, I don't want to say no Jake breaks for that hill, there's one dangerous hill. I think most of the trucks need them loaded coming down there. But we get to set a time where the traffic ain't so busy where you can get down around there without it. So I think we're gonna post that road with a no Jake break at certain times.
Yeah.
And I think that would help out the neighbors.
I just want to point out that sleep is not just a matter of convenience for the neighbors. Adequate sleep is a primary need for adequate health care. And people cannot remain healthy if they're not getting adequate sleep. This is a question of people's health and welfare, not just convenience.
Bonnie Two-Baker, and I I live right on the corner, so I know how it's when they're stopping at the stop sign and going down the hill and hearing the whole thing. But my concern is kind of, it sounds like as everyone else, is it starts, I'm getting woken up, you know, my son's getting woken up at 2:50 a.m. and trucks are going until, well, at least 10 p.m. And, you know, I'm not sure, not necessarily so early, but 7 days a week, you know, trucks are going in and out on Sundays, on holidays. It just seems like there's no break from it. And it's also, it's not just the dump trucks, it's the, you know, the tractor trailer trucks as well. I'm noticing those are, you know, very noisy as well.
So there should be no access on Sunday.
Oh, there is. And just even 4th of July trucks.
Because I see the hours are 4 a.m. to 6 p.m., Monday through Saturday.
Yeah, I don't know what we would have, why we would have people in there on Sunday. The trailers are coming in on Sunday.
Trailers.
So the third party, do you lease to the third party, or how does that work?
They operate for us. We have a contract with them. We don't haul our own trailers. We contract with them to come in. So they're a third-party contract that haul trailers for us. The primary company is NBI.
So you have a contract with them?
So you can dictate how they behave. Perfect.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we can tell them no Sundays, and they're the ones that, you know, it's our contract, so it's our responsibility to manage them. But they're the ones that are late at night. We don't have any trucks that late, and it's them coming in late at night. They're challenged with so they haul to Juniper landfill in Old Town or Perk in Warrington, so they want to start at odd times so they can. There's limited hours when they can dump, and it's quite a haul from here to there. But we can work with them on a plan to stay within their restrictions.
Do you oversee them?
Yes.
Okay, so you're in charge, it's your responsibility.
Yeah. No, that's what I said. Yes, it's on us.
You're talking around the subject.
No, it's our responsibility to manage them.
That's right.
Yep.
You're not doing it.
Good.
First one item on that point, if people want to look to page 9, section 21 on assignment.
And you're, who you are? Who are you?
Sorry, Mark Bauer, the town attorney from Denton Dairy. There's a provision in the contract related to assignment about Pine Tree not assigning its rights or delegating its duties to third parties without the prior written consent of the town. So I wasn't clear whether there has been a discussion before about the third party operating at the site or not. I know it's an older contract, so I don't know, but that's something that you may want to look at as when renewing the contract as well, so that that provision has been followed. So I'll put it on the list, yeah.
You've been waiting patiently.
Steve Winter, it's clear there are concerns and violations of ours, so it's clear that there should be a very clear specification of what hours, what things can happen, and it's also clear that you shouldn't have the box regulating the hen house. The town should put up its own camera and institute a fine for violation, say $1,000 per violation backed by camera footage.
We are looking at something such as some sort of strategy such as that. Sorry.
When you go to dump at the dump, the guy that's there from the town side makes up the prices as you go. So there's no set pricing, so A, where does the money go? And B, he goes, I'm just here, I don't know, 20, 25, maybe 15. So he randomly guesses what you have to pay. So there's no clarification for anybody when you go up, when you're paying cash or the vehicles coming around, not going to the scale. You don't get any receipts. You just go and you throw it into the dumpster and he just rattles off a price to you. So there's no accountability there on that. Instead, what are you gonna do about the rats? That's my number big one complaint right now. So there's rats at the end of the road.
Yeah, so the pricing structure, to answer that question first, yeah, it is a guess for the most part. On the demo, We don't put it across the scale. We have set prices for like the per bag. But when it comes to couches, things like that, someone comes in with some bulk items, it is more of a guess. We have talked with the town before about like changing that. I don't love having a person up there holding a bunch of cash as well, especially on the weekends where they're pretty vulnerable to someone wanting that cash. So that's something we have talked with the town about in the past, an alternative plan to the cash transactions at the drop off. The rats, challenge of a trash facility and recycling facility. We do use modern pests that are there every week. We can definitely look at stepping our efforts up on some additional services with pest control.
And you're gonna look into the turning lane, correct?
Yeah. So you're talking about when a truck's turning left into the transfer station,
All
people are
traffic
going
turning
out
in-
around them.
All traffic turning into your zone.
Yeah, and then the people behind them are going into, so I guess I'd have to talk with the town on how we would remedy that situation. Yeah.
State.
The state, yeah, talk with the state.
You're talking to
They shouldn't be,
It's illegal.
it's not a legal passing lane, so.
But they use it, because look at the road, and if you're standing there long enough, anybody there, they've gone around my tenant, pulling out of her driveway.
Sure.
Flipped her off, she's pulling out of her driveway to go on the road, they're trying to get around the turning traffic. It is definitely a hazard.
Yeah, we can get with the state to see how we could enforce that, maybe with the sheriff's department, see how, if they can put somebody up there for a while to pull people over.
You have to have there all that.
Yeah, I don't have a solution for that today.
The state will give a solution.
What's that?
The state will put a third lane in. And I don't know if you could do.
There is room enough for a third lane. That's quite a side part.
Just a clarification, when you say there's no price list, that's not true. There are two price lists. One posted on the town website, and the paper one that Casella has in their room. The problem is, they disagree.
Yeah, so you're right, there's two different prices, and then the ones for who cross the scale. That's,
No. Tuesdays and Saturdays.
yeah,
There are two separate price lists.
there should be.
Well, there's supposed to be a reduced rate for West Bath,
Oh, yeah, for the drop.
and then a regular rate if you're not a
Yeah.
West Bath resident, but you're also not supposed, West Bath is supposed to be the only people from 8 to 10 on Saturday and from 3 to 5 on Tuesday. During that is my understanding, is that not correct?
Correct.
So that rate, which is why we have the stickers in town, to prove that you're a West Bath resident, you pay a reduced rate to use the facility.
And I gotta go with Casella. That's absolutely not practical.
So we can talk about posting rates.
That's not practical. But there should not be a separate price list for Casella. And when you say, this is my town price list, you should not be told, well, this is a Casella price list. Do you want to take it with you?
So if you're in the town and you come outside of drop-off hours, then.
No, Tuesdays and Saturdays,
Yeah.
There's a separate price list for Casella being charged. White goods is not honored as being free, which is supposed to. Hazardous waste is not honored as being free, which is supposed to be. There is a significant difference between the two price lists.
We shouldn't be taking any out of this. Universal waste. Yeah.
My computer is wrong.
Yeah, no, I got it.
There needs to be a sign, and if it says West Bath only, West Bath rate, but it needs to be invisible. The townspeople should not be arguing with themselves, with Casella personnel.
Yeah, the only time it would, that you wouldn't have the drop-off rates would be if you came across the scale.
couple of meetings on Saturday, a couple of meetings on Tuesday.
Yeah. No, yeah, no, we can post it on the website and start handing them out at the drop-off.
Post it on the bill.
Can we post it in that window by the door?
Window.
They don't go by the window, and we can post it up in the recycle center where the traffic goes.
Yes,
Absolutely,
yes.
priceless, right there, absolutely.
And we'll also in turn, you know, we'll do a walk of what the West Bath tag is supposed to look like. It's red this
Absolutely,
year,
yeah.
or blue this year.
Blue this year, yeah.
And so that we know that that's what you're supposed to have. If you don't have that, then we need to look at it.
Mark Haley, Office Manager, just want to address your question. Is it the town website prices that are different from what we have in the drop-off center?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll address that. We'll look at what we list on the website versus what we have at the transfer, what we're going to post to make sure those line up.
So we've also, 2 times in a row, I've had a neighborhood drop pickup point that has been missed on recycling. And I actually brought the cardboard over to the site and then had to wait for, I was going to put the rest of it in my car. But we need to figure out, and we're going to talk, we talked a little about phone and contact that Dave Hennessy brought up. I'd like to have, maybe set a date. So if we call and say, what is the standard, if we miss something, what is the next appropriate commitment that we can say, if this didn't happen, this will happen next, and it's a standard that's set forth. So if someone doesn't get their stuff picked up, you know, can they leave it there, the next day? How do we ensure that because it's the cardboard sat there for 2 days, it rains, and I had to put soggy cardboard in my car. And so, but it's not the residents' fault because they just weren't picked up. And the day that it was put out, it was dry. So what do we do then? How do we manage the misses that, and you don't have to answer that tonight. I want to.
Yeah, no, I think it's, to your point, it's not going to be Saturday. So it's early enough in the day to recover what we're going to do with that day. And then if it comes in late, it would be the following Monday. It won't be on a weekend. But yeah, we can put in kind of maybe like a diagram of who to call and what the steps are. And, you know, I think.
And will you take wet cardboard if it was left out there even though it was dry?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's on us.
Okay.
We will,
So maybe we'll have that, you know, we'll direct all calls. If there's a missed pickup, it goes to town hall. And then they're just put on the following Monday. If it's missed that day, they can't recover that day, it goes on the following Monday. We want that as a commitment. It
Absolutely.
doesn't sit there for a week.
Yeah, or if you call me that same day, I'll send the truck out.
On that same communication problem I mentioned before, you usually pick up our road around 10, 11 o'clock. So if not there but 1 o'clock, I give a call to the toll-free number. And they say, oh, they'll be there, they're just running late. They assure me you'll be there. 3 o'clock, I call again. Oh, no, I talked to some West Bath, and they'll be there. I talked to the dispatcher down there. They'll be there for sure. So you've got to get your communications straightened out.
Yeah, do you have Mark's cell phone?
I tried that once and got a machine. I did eventually speak to him later on, but it was too late then. You know, there's one guy that on Saturdays, he can't do anything.
No.
So what is the set, if it's not picked up by what time? Should we then reach out to the town hall where there's still time to recover? What time should that be?
Anytime you call me, I'm going to do my best to get a truck back out there to recover it.
But when is the pickup? I mean, do we have a schedule? Do we know?
The service is typically completed by no later than 3:30, 4 o'clock on average.
So if it's not picked up by 3:30,
Yeah, we should
we
probably.
can get to town hall in time to have you come get it that day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that a commitment?
That's fair.
Okay, so can we post that?
Yeah, can I say something though, going back to the transfer sticker? At the last meeting, you agreed that you were going to post signs
Yes.
saying that residents had to have stickers showing the directions for West Bath residents because there's confusion on that and nothing has been posted. Why is that?
Yeah, we need to do that. That's on us. Yeah.
And we are getting nervous as a select board, because I think this is your 3rd time before us, and each time it's, yeah, we're gonna do this, yeah, we're gonna do this.
Yeah, we
So
need to.
why should we trust you now?
Yeah, no, it's a valid concern and understandable, and we will get working on this.
Well,
Can I bring up a point about the stickers? I think last session, we had talked that we we're going to pick a date to start hard enforce the sticker rule. I mean, I will tell you, it's probably 10% of the people, I've worked the center, only have West Bath stickers, and when I try to ask them, hey, are you a resident? I don't see a sticker. It's, oh yeah, I lost mine, or I live here, New York plates. So we can absolutely enforce that. We'll be turning away 90%.
You should enforce it.
Okay, yeah, I think we were waiting to this is the contract renewal.
When people register their vehicles, we ask them, do you need a transfer station sticker?
And there are going to be some people that are from
Right.
out of town because we've got some people that have residents up here for the summer.
Yep.
So that shouldn't be uncommon. But as long as they have a tax bill with the town,
Okay.
they're entitled to the sticker.
And the first time they turn it away, it's not gonna take you long to go get one.
Exactly.
Exactly, right.
So feel free to
So is
turn
there
it
a
away.
grace, I mean, I thought there was the grace period there until now, but do you want
It was
to?
in January, December that we had that last conversation, and I recall very directly that March 1st was set the date. And March is gone.
So as of today, have at it.
Okay.
Why can't you make the contract for 4 months, and if they make their changes, follow through with everything, you give them the rest of the contract?
We've got,
Yeah,
we're gonna,
like a 4-month trial period, so.
We've got some
if you
things
get
that we're
these
gonna look
things,
at
'cause they
here.
can't do this overnight.
no. We want a partnership that works for both parties. We're
But
not
4
trying to
months
be
should be
hardcore
enough.
here. But we do want to, it needs to be beneficial for
But
both parties.
the way I'm feeling, we've given them over a year and nothing has changed, not one little thing. So I think it's a great idea, because I don't have any faith in Casella's. If you want to serve this town, you somehow have got to get that faith back.
Well, there's going to be an enticement opportunity for you to ensure that it follows.
Steve?
Steve Winter, just want to check for you, Casella folks, are you taking notes on all these particular points? So it's clear, right? Okay.
He's still on watching every time,
Yeah.
as am I, maybe other backup.
And again, we've had meetings with you, we want to work with you, if there's things we can do to help, we want to help, but there's all these promises, and the minute you walk out here, it stops.
Anyone have any other comments, questions? Are those for us?
Yeah, I actually put together a little something. So these are just annual tonnages for the drop-off center, as well as the curbside recycle pickup. So I only made 6, I didn't know how many people would be here. But it's kind of labeled. I just went back to 2018. It's pretty simple. The first page is just a summary of tons going back to 2018, like I said.
And our town attorney.
Oh, that's the last one I saved it just for you.
I have a question
Yep.
for you. Years ago, when we first had the transfer station, TNR
Yep.
was running it. And it was, I think it was in the contract, I don't think it's in yours, but it's a smaller scale. There's a lot of scale. First of all, it wasn't, at the end of the day, there was not being nothing on the slab. Nothing. And there wasn't. All the time that TNI was up there, we never had a seagull up there. We never had a road going up there. Why, I know you're on a bigger scale.
Yeah, we would be definitely challenged to have the way that the trucking industry is right now and the volumes people are producing, removing material. We attempt to try to get the trash out of the building every day in part.
I saw it on the slide.
Yeah, the demo is.
And I know you've had trucking problems, but it was even before COVID.
Yeah, so when I started in it was 2007. I mean, we built the building for the MSW because we had a major issue there with we were putting MSW outside, and we had demo and MSW outside, and that was a major problem because we had all types of animals coming into the MSW. So that's why we built the building to attempt to reduce some of that. But it would be a challenge for us right now to have enough ground every day.
But as I say, it got rid of the road problem. And
Yeah, the demo does cause some of the animal issues. If someone throws something they shouldn't down there, the major rodent issue comes from the MSW building, and they're going after the trash.
Yes. Is it possible that Casella can get back to the town administrator in a week, 2 weeks, and let her know what the progress is on some of these issues?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we would want to do that on a weekly basis as we move on and address these items.
All right.
And I also wanted to ask about the survey. Have you had a chance to look at the issues that need to be corrected according to our insurer with recycling?
Yeah, I can take that one. Mark, Daily Ops Manager. So we have, as soon as I received the email from you folks, we did get 2 separate contractors to come in and provide us with quotes for the building. I was promised the first quote to be back today. That has not happened. I did not get a call back from them again. I've been hounding them. So we are working on getting quotes to button up that building, fix everything, the cracks in the concrete, and take care of those issues. As soon as I get quotes back, we plan on absolutely fixing
Okay.
it.
Can you keep in touch with Christine as those come in?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that would be great. I
For
need
sure.
to respond to the insurance
Yeah.
company, so they'll want a time once you have a sense of when that can happen.
Absolutely.
Great.
Anybody?
Other comments?
The only thing I had was to the question about the third-party hauler and that being in an agreement. I wasn't around at the beginning of that agreement, or I wasn't involved. I can tell you, I assume there was conversations about that. We've never hauled our own. So with this, from day one, we were using third-party contractors as haulers. We don't have our own tractor trailers and trailers to haul out of here.
I think part of that is the, I'm not sure that all the third-party haulers are taking all of our stuff. I think there's also stuff coming in.
Yeah, third party.
So
When I
it's
say
not-
third party, I'm talking about servicing the transfer station as almost an arm of Casella, where they're hauling the material away. We have a lot of other companies coming in to utilize the facility to dispose of items.
When you're open during the day, do you have someone who's there on site managing the facility?
Yeah, that's more.
So you're there 6 to 6?
Yes, about 5:30, mostly 5:30, 6 o'clock to around 5 o'clock.
And Mark lives in West Bath, so he's 5 minutes away from the transfer if something pops up.
Yes, we've had the recycling center.
And on that note too, I did want to drop these off. These are just flyers, kind of went along with your email in regards to the green ticket. I think that's what you call it on the website. But I looked over that, everything on that list was good. I think Liv was the one that was asking about that. So those, they can just have, spread it out, whoever wants to take one is willing to.
We are trying to make it, I know it seems like we're all the guns are pointing you, and they are right now, but we'd like to develop a partnership that works for both of us.
Absolutely.
But it needs to be on both ends.
And it has to be, especially for our citizens that surround your facility.
Absolutely.
All right, if there's no more comment, we will move on to the next agenda item.
Is everyone staying for that, or are you gonna?
I own property in the town.
You're not required to stay for the full agenda. If anyone is only here for Casella, you're welcome to depart at this time or stay on. Okay?
And I presume we'll go home.
You all set?
That's
You all
right.
set for the rest of the meeting?
Yeah.
Thank you for staying, we appreciate it.
Sure.
Well, that's why
Yeah, we received 3 bids for a spino. I know that you wanted to talk about it. Yep. These are the bids, I'll hand them over.
So, item 2 on the agenda was the vinyl road drainage bid holding.
got this paper, whatever somebody brought in, the pictures that they're showing, as far as reaching them to line up. Most of it's state aid road.
Say again,
Campbell calling the state aid. Like when you said the bush trees on the road being tore up.
But there was no cones put out, there was no notification for traffic.
They gotta call the state, that's it, that's their road. That's their road.
So I have first bidder from J.R. Hill and Son, minor road drainage bid, all work to be done as the town specs and drawing provided, $38,343.
The next one is from Mid-Coast Excavation. They have an itemized list of the prices and their rates, and they have submitted a bid of $29,990. I have a bid from St. Lawrence and Son Incorporated out of Lewiston. They have
Who was that, Captain?
St. Laurent and Son. And they've listed out all of their material, what they're going to need. Their price is $59,540.
$38,343 from J.R. Hill.
And Mid-Coast Excavation was $29,990. St. Laurent is $59,540. I move that we award the contract to Mid-Coast Excavation as their low bidder. Second? All in favor?
So I'd like to add to this discussion, if I may. Is the appropriate time for that?
I think so. Do you want to comments? Suzanne's.
Please.
So I have to say I'm a little disappointed in how our bid looked on the website for our town. The town of West Bath essentially is a $4 million business, and a substantial amount of our money goes to our road work. And when I look at how the bid is presented and the generic nature of it, there's pieces to it that aren't laid out. And I don't know how we can get consistent bids back when we talk about traffic control. Well, what is traffic control? What is required by the state and by DOT and by our town to make sure that every person is bidding on the same project and the same requirements? It also gives us a chance to ensure that we can measure and guarantee that we're getting what we have requested on behalf of the bids. And so I think we need to move away from a subjective process. And it's not just road work. Any bid that we go out in this town should have measurable results. And that's just a gigantic concern with how I saw that bid presented on behalf of the town. And I think it's limiting who's going to bid on this, because they don't know what the liability is, and there's no way for us to even go back if it's not met to what we thought we were getting, on how to guarantee and fulfill that bid.
I had a problem with this myself. I didn't like the scratch paper on the scratch paper. We got Pine Tree Engineering right here. I think they got a plan. They must have a scale thing that they have for ditches requirements. They must have that.
Well, this.
And the thing of it is, if they have an engineer required, I know it's going to cost us a few extra bucks, but at least everybody knows what the bid number. This is just generic. This is scratch paper. There's nothing saying how deep it's gonna be, or what. Or what are they gonna do when they hit ledge? They're gonna remove it? Do they, you know, it's just, this is generic. And it says 12-inch culverts, some places you got more 12-inch culverts.
Mr. Ward, did you understand it?
I understand it under a sidewalk, yes. If that's what you're referring to, they met with all the contractors independently and directly.
And I walked it and say, all right, and I walked it and say, I help people to put it.
I'm just saying that, you know, it should be generic. I mean, it should be a, I don't like it, it ain't professional, that's on a piece of scratch paper.
What is,
And we're spending $30,000 for
You know,
a piece of scratch paper.
well, and I look at, I didn't have a chance to really review the other bids, but when I get a bid and it says, based upon how it was presented, you know, there's no way for the town to then enforce the measurement of what we're looking for. You know, like you said, is it a 12-inch or a 14-inch culvert? You know, what, you know, did you put in traffic control specifics that someone may or may not be putting in, therefore their bid is different? And I had a conversation with Christine. We are having a hard time getting people to participate in our bids generically, not just on road, but generically. And I think part of it is they look at this and like, I'm not going to touch something that doesn't put the boundaries up, because there could be a pothole somewhere in there that they're then held accountable for. So I think we need to be more thorough in the process on how we spend the town's money and ensure we're getting what we pay for.
Mike?
I hear what you're saying, but there is a difference between a request for an RFP, which is a request for proposals, and an RFQ, which is a request for a quote. A quote needs a set of specifications, it needs an engineering study, because the town controls the work. RFP has the flexibility, it's not always appropriate, but there are times when the contractor has the latitude to give flexibility, what he can do. An RFP can work in your benefit. And the difference between, if he makes a proposal, and the proposal is different, the point of an RFP is to get the contractor's expertise, what they can do well, how they can do it, when they can do it. Then you can negotiate and review a proposal, and you accept the proposal or you modify it. I have no problem with an RFP. The scratch paper, it's not classy, but it's not a bad idea either.
But there's standards that have to be followed that aren't stipulated here.
Granted, and that is the intent of an RFP.
But you're looking at the three of us who don't necessarily have the background in road maintenance, and you're asking for us then to make a decision on, do we believe that that's the correct specs?
We have a road commissioner.
Right. But he's not the one
He's the one,
approving this right
he's
here.
the one who puts out the,
But we're approving, a bid came through today that says I'm going to follow the specs that were set forth. I don't think that's sufficient.
I don't think everything needs to be an RFQ. Whether this particular instance should be one or the other, I don't have an opinion. But an RFP, hey, if somebody comes and says, hey, I can only do half of that, and that's your only proposal, you don't want to lock them out.
The deal is, the town only has so much money. It's a $30,000 job. It's not an $80,000 or $100,000 job that we go out, get engineered, we spend all this money to test it and everything else that you think we need. Now, if a road commissioner can't go out and say, look, this road needs to be ditched, Jeremy Wolf, can you do it for this price? Put something out, ask a few other people, keep the budget down. Instead of blowing everything right out of proportion, which you seem like to be doing lately, is bullshit. This ain't the way things work, never worked in this town, ever. Yes, I do see projects over 100,000, projects even to be 60,000, set a limit. But don't sit there and tell
Our limit
me
is
to get these
$20,000
jobs
in the
done.
town.
Excuse me?
Our limit is $20,000 for a bid. That's the limit.
Since when?
I'm wondering if Rob might be able to give us a sense of how a project of this type might be handled in another community.
Sure. Rob Prue from Pine Tree Engineering. Nice to see you all again.
Did you see the specs?
You saw that on the website, yes. So, yeah, I can
throw in my 2 cents worth. We're a small company, we work with a lot of small towns, and all projects are different. And we do our bid packages a variety of different ways. We use our judgment, thinking about finances, how technical the work is. We put out different packages. So I brought a couple examples for our later on discussion, but this was a RFQ, request for quotation, 2-pager with a set of drawings. We did survey, prepare a set of plans for Bull Rock Road. We felt that was an adequate amount of detail in thinking about how much money the town wants to spend on 375 feet of road. So we put out that. On town paving projects that are $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, we'll put together a book like this. State projects that have DOT involved, a little beefier. So we have all different levels depending on the requirements. And as you put more pages in, you're going to get more detail on traffic control. You cannot close the road. You have to keep one lane open, whatever it is you want. When you do the RFQ, it's a little more generic, traffic control and construction signage.
Is there a standard for traffic control, a minimum standard required?
There's industry standards, yes.
So we should then put that on there?
Yeah,
So that everyone goes by the same?
When you drive through a construction site, you see a normal sign package. You know, with road construction ahead, one lane ahead, flagger ahead. That's the standard in Jerry knows. I mean, it's a standard layout. And then the other question is when you want to bond your projects. You have a large enough project, you want to require bonds, which does cost the town money, 3 to 4% for bonds, but that gives you insurance. And there are state laws on that, if you go over 100, 125,000, you're supposed to be bonding projects. When we're involved in projects, we almost always require bonds for public projects. So I don't think there's a right way or a wrong way. You have to kind of navigate your way through the type of project you have. But there are different ways, and of course, all of these cost different amounts of money. And when we work for you, and I work for 10 other small towns across the state, you know, we try to use our best judgment as to what level of effort and expense is warranted for each project. That's kind of how we go about it.
Scott and Grayson, just questions for the room, but also Pine Tree. Is it possible to have an RFP with greater detail than what we submitted for public?
Yes. Yes.
In terms of lineage.
It's a little bit of semantics, whether it's an RFP or an RFQ.
Right.
So you can put a level of detail, and again, there's not a lot of rules, so you can go with this is 2 pages, you can make it 6 pages, which is not a book, but you'd have a little more detail. So.
And I'm not saying every project we do in this town has to be engineered. I'm not trying to spend money, I'm trying to spend it properly.
Right.
And there's a difference there, Steve.
Yeah, and back to ditching, it's not unusual to have pretty simple packages for ditching. But typically there would be, you have some sketches, but at least a drawing, so you can, it wants to be this wide, this deep, and you want to be loaned and seeded or whatever it is you want. What size culvert, what type of culvert. Those are the basics. And that's what this RFQ here, it calls out the type of gravel, the type of culverts. It's all you need to know. The guys, contractors can then bid on that pretty confidently, and then we also have a set of drawings that go with it. So I don't know if I answered your question.
So you're saying you could make up something with a generic plan that it would work for ditching on Birch Point, it would work for ditching on Sabino, or any road, any town road?
More or less.
And you would have the requirements of what a standard would be.
And everyone's bidding against a standard. And then it gives a measurable opportunity for the town to ensure we're getting what we think we're getting.
And if I'm right, Ron, if you're talking about, if you had a genetic plan for that, that's one bid, you pay it one time, and you use it for every road that we have.
The thing I submitted was a generic. Right out of info.
The only difference
I was trying to save the town
this is
some money.
hand-drawn, something for me would be computer generated.
And I'm not against the hand-drawn. There's piece in here, I look at what this, it talks about traffic control, it talks about erosion control. What is the standard for erosion control? What is the standard for traffic control? What are we doing? I got called upon by one of my residents to go look at Bull Rock because there was no erosion control.
Well, erosion control is whatever that contractor needs to put in.
There was no
That's why they get a license.
hay bale down on the waterfront on Bull Rock before a rainstorm. 0.
I don't think you look good enough.
I have pictures before and after,
Yes.
so I certainly
Well,
did.
obviously you got too much time on your hands because
Hold on just a moment. We're getting distracted, okay. Rob, do other towns define the standards for traffic control, or is it incumbent upon the contractor to follow the industry standards?
It depends on which one of the methods you're using. On Bull Rock Road, it was more generic. It just says traffic control, construction signage. So that's meant to be industry standard. In a book like this, there'll be 3 pages describing traffic control, what you need to do. And then 6 pages on erosion control.
I'm
So
pretty confident that DEP has a standard on waterfront, Steve.
I'm going to request that we consider having a workshop at a later time. We've been here for 2 hours, and it will take longer. I'm recovering from surgery. This is difficult for me to sit here. So this is obviously not something we're going to solve this evening. Could we come back to this?
Can we have just a few minutes for Rob to go over Bull Rock, because he does have some information to provide to the board?
That's good, yeah.
Try to keep it brief and just have Rob speak.
Sure.
Is that okay with you?
I'll give you a recap on Bull Rock. As I think you remember, we opened bids back in May this year. Received two bids. One was $141,000, one was $174,000, as I recall. It was awarded to Reno's Excavation. Steve started the work 2.5 weeks ago. Project is complete except for the paving, which is not part of that contract. We did the typical approach, as I've already talked to you about what we put out to bid. It was advertised publicly, put in the newspaper, all the construction bulletins that we advertised around the state. As you alluded to, contractors are busy. We're not getting a lot of bids on a lot of projects this year. Prices are crazy. It's one of those things. But anyway, we got over that on this project. We did our typical approach where the gravel specification that we require, the contractor submits a copy of the what we call the gradation analysis, showing us that that gravel meets the spec. We made some spot visits during construction. This is my son Jeremy crew. He actually visited the site because it's close to our office every day when Steve was working. Basically, it's a 9-day project. So what we do is we monitor the construction. We're not out there 10 hours a day. I don't think you want to pay us to be out there 10 hours a day. We stop in, take a look at it, discuss it with the contractor. Are there any issues we need to go over? And just kind of take a look and make sure things look good. So Jeremy, we submitted to Christine inspection reports with photos from all his visits in the last couple of weeks. We're very happy with the project. I think it came out great. And we think we'll have the same success on that section of Bull Rock as we did over on the other section that we did several years ago, which, glad to say, is still not a crack in the pavement over there. So that was a successful project. We've been happy to be partners with the town on all these projects in the past, and I think we should be happy with it.
Are you talking about Solano?
Talking about Bull Rock.
No, I say the crack in the road?
No, Bull Rock Road, the other piece over by the top
Oh,
of the hill.
okay, top of the hill, right.
It was always an ice problem there.
Right.
It's a blasting, put under drain. We did the similar treatment on this section.
I'd like to add to Jared for country engineering. So even though we don't have the big spec book on this one here, we reference MDOT, main DOT, type A gravel, type D gravel, and they have more specs that you want to see about that type of gravel. So the sieve analysis passes that gravel for both of those. So even though this package is thin, it references a much more substantial reference.
The DOT spec book is this thing.
What was your specification for erosion control?
We said provide erosion and sedimentation control as well as dust control. So erosion control is a method to prevent erosion and sedimentation. And DEP engineer once put it to me when I asked, hey, can we use this instead of somebody wanted to use bark mulch chips for erosion control. I said, yeah, you can use whatever you want. The law is you can't have sedimentation leave your site, so however you can achieve that. So that was kind of a good point, that if you don't have it one day doesn't mean you have a problem. You have a problem when you have a rainstorm, so you want to be preventative of that. So I do know that was brought to our attention, it was brought to Steve's attention, and it was addressed. I'm not sure what day that was.
Last Tuesday. The day after the storm.
There's also, 100 feet of swale grass. What happened was the night before that, we come across, there was a culvert put on the, I guess you'd call it the east side of the boat landing that went all the way across, and when we give a certain individual a permit to put a culvert in, he butted it right up against the other one sideways, so we had to dig that out to find that culvert. And we didn't get to the point that I saw all that grass and everything down through there, and I didn't think we'd have erosion control problem, and we didn't. So, after that, we put a bale of hay in, put a thing down through it, because we was getting further down towards the water. That job did not consist of a bunch of erosion control, everything ran downhill. We had riprap all in the ditches before that storm. So what water was getting there wasn't like a great big river. I don't understand why our select person is going out and taking pictures of that stuff. I don't quite follow.
I had someone call me with a concern, so I had to address it.
So,
That's simple.
as far as the level of detail for that, if you feel, I mean, we serve at the will of the board to serve the town. So if you think we're not doing enough detail, we'd be glad to do more detail. We just need to have a little more communication if that's, you know, if we're doing something that you don't like or would like differently, just tell us, that's all.
Not all these jobs are going to be engineered.
Right.
And this one that we had tonight was not.
Correct.
And I just think that we're missing the opportunity to ensure the town is getting what they're expecting.
Right. So the thing the town can always fall back on, in my opinion, is industry standards. There are certain things that are expected as far as erosion control and traffic control.
And I would just say that not all of us on the board share that particular concern.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Not all of us have this particular concern in mind at this point. Speaking for myself, I'm perfectly satisfied with the job that Steve is doing on the roads.
So I'm speaking on behalf of the town, part of the road committee that we have. I think that we have 5 members, and we were discussing in our last few meetings that from the projects here on out, we'd like to see gradations, and we'd like to do some type of, Proctor sweetnet compaction tests on site. And I think that's maybe where a little bit of disconnect happened. We're still in process of trying to figure out what everybody's position is as road commissioner and as the committee. I think we're trying to collectively come together to help Steve because of the volume of the work and what's going on, and help aid in some of these issues. This is one of those things that came up that we thought would be pertinent to future projects.
So what Jeremy's alluding to is more testing of the gravel in place, compaction testing. We do the gradation already to make sure it's the specified gravel is showing up on the site. And we observe that. If we see it changing, then we would ask for another test. A small job like this is not going to change.
And I agree 100% too. If it was a road not going to a cottage road, we're doing 300 feet, stopping at the end. We did come across a problem. There was 18 inches of tar on that road. I did not expect that. Sitting on clay base. So we had to make a next step. We talked to Rob about it, and we put some geo fabric down, and then we put out the gravel over that. As far as the compaction on that there, I don't know if it would still pass, because the road is all moving. But how far do we want to go on a 370-foot road that maybe 15, 20 people live on? I mean, you could,
I think that would be the determination of the road commissioner at that point, right?
Exactly.
That would be up to your discretion. And that would be up to the select board to approve that, whether it's a conflict of interest, because you're the contractor at that particular time.
That's why I went through our engineer.
Yep.
Did the proper channels for that. Will be a change order.
Just so you know, back to the testing, we can certainly do more testing if the town would like. It's going to cost more money. There's the compaction test you can do on gravel. We would get a lab to do that test, come out and do the density test on site. You can also test pavement. This density pavement you can none of the towns that I work for would do that on either case.
If I have a question, Nancy, if you take, and you do the plans, and you do the specs, and you do the engineering, if down the road, year, 2 years, say 2 years, and all of a sudden there's a problem with that road, okay, because now who is that gonna fall upon, the contractor, the town, or the engineer?
Depends what the problem is. There are, like this one, but there are no guarantees. The work is to be done to specifications, and again, just like there's different ways of doing books, there's different ways of doing road construction. One is to shim an overlay road, not gonna last forever. It's gonna crack at the end of 2 years, so that's no one's fault. That's what the method you chose. Another one is to reclaim it and add a little bit of gravel. Well, that's gonna last better. And then onward to the main turnpike, where you have 6 feet of frost-free gravel all above the water table frost line, which is obviously the Taj Mahal method. So you have to know what you're signing up for in terms of how it's gonna last. Agree, Jeremy?
I 100%.
I agree. I just wondered if that's where it lies upon. And the original, when we talked about this deal, as far as, we call it accountability. And at the meeting that was there, we didn't care who got the job or who did the job. It was specified right and open. Made no difference who got the job. It was all to be done by the specs that they bid. Because if Jeremy, if you bid on a job, or we get Stevie, or J.I. Hill, they're all bidding the same apples. Make sure it's that way. And that's the only thing we wanted. That's the only thing we had.
And that's why we brought Rob Crew into the picture for the last 3 or 4 jobs.
Let me, I lived on change orders for BID. I ate them up. I ate soup chip up on change orders. You put on an RFQ and you got your pants down. Because if Stevie wanted to, when he found clay, he could have owned this town. That's a fact. You put the specifications out and you have a flip side to it. Because you have guaranteed that you know what that work scope is. And he's not being a brat when he goes ahead and does a change. And I'll tell you, if I was working for him, he'd be a rich man today.
Just to remind the board, you hired Stevie as our road commissioner. You chose him based on his knowledge and experience. Let's use his knowledge and experience. I think the projects he's done and had done in the town, it worked out very well.
I'm not challenging you.
So I'd say you can't pin down every little detail, especially on ditching down the road, unless you want to test the whole thing. Ditching. John, let's finish. I think you can get too much detail on these small projects like ditching, and you're going to go way over your head. They may be ledged, they may not be ledged. But Stevie knows the roads. Let's use some of his judgment, his experience on these roads. Keep it simple when you can. A big project, yes, detail. But don't oversell it.
Resolve this tonight. I think there's a lot of feelings. I think there's.
I just want to straighten out one thing, just one thing.
One thing and that's it.
I'm not picking on Stevie.
I didn't say you were.
But I don't know, and I had no intent to pick on Stevie.
Pretty hard to do like that.
No, it ain't hard to do, I ain't doing it. But anyways, because he can pick on me. But what I'm saying is that, nobody, I just want a generic thing that we all move on.
You are
We heard you.
right, you are right. And Stevie's right.
We heard you.
We need to work out the middle.
We gotta meet in the middle and we gotta, I can hear the voices raised, go up and down. I can feel the emotions. I can feel there are some stress issues. There's some this side, that side. We need to work together as a team. It's the only way this is going to work. Nobody can do it on their own. So we need to reduce the stress levels, work together, similar to maybe what we're going to be doing with the planning board, what we need to do with Steve and the road committee. And maybe bring in, probably would
wanted me to bid these jobs. We got all these jobs coming up, I said, I need a method. I come up with a method, and it got ditched. It's a simple ditching job, $30,000, I hate to tell you folks, doesn't go far in the dirt work business. And when Jeremy has actually given us a hell of a deal on the scope of work that I asked done, I walked through it with Jeremy. I know what I expect. When I go back down there and walk through that job again, I even had Nick with me to witness what we all talked about. The same with the guy down there, we cut too many trees, I guess, on his land. I discussed it with him. I said, this is what's gonna happen. Yes, yes, yes. Send Hawks down, he walks around with an 8-foot stick at your hot top and would have just let them cut the twigs on it. This ditch, these trees grow roots 20 feet long. We need to take these down. We need the sunlight to these ditches. And I guess he's in a big deal. Furthermore, I don't think we cut one tree down. If we did, it might be 1.5 foot on his land. And most of them were 1-inch saplings.
Jeremy.
I hate to keep adding to this, but I spoke with Sally, our town attorney, in reference to Sabino Road and distances and so on and so forth, because the town line and the road right of way down there is not very distinctive, to say the least. She mentioned that if we can continue to maintain our ditches as though we have over the past 20 years, and we have rights to maintain those to secure our town roads. She did mention that we need to be very careful on how far we make our limits within those ditch limits.
Falls in line with something called adverse possession. And you use something unchallenged for 20 years, you get to use it that after forward.
Yep.
So that's really what the stipulation is.
And I also think the town should be working on, whether it's called the demand or whatever, we need 10 feet from the edge of hot top in for our ditches. So if we could get this on every road, it would be so much easier.
I believe the road committee is working on that.
Got a Scott Andreessen, a question. Steve, you said you walked Sabino Road with Jeremy?
That's correct.
Now, other contractors are bidding on the job. Do you have the time to also walk and show them the detail on some of these projects like that, so that they all have a much more detailed image of what the job
All
is?
3 bids you see there, I walked, talked to everyone.
Okay. I'm just curious in how they,
Yeah,
all the different
Jeremy,
bids, so they have a...
Jamie Hill came down. This is stuff, we're doing at 8, 9 o'clock at night,
But, and Stephen, I'm not trying, truthfully, I'm not trying to pick any, there was other people that were looking to bid on this. And I know Christine's issue is, we just aren't getting bids right now, and there's some that are because people are busy. And if that's part of the bid process, you say, if you want to come and talk to the road commissioner about this, it should be open to everyone to have that option.
Okay, let me explain this to you, okay? We have 3 contractors in the town of West Bath that pay a bunch of taxes, okay? I would like to go to one of my contractors and say, hey, this is what we can spend on this road, can you do it? That's basically what I did. Then all of a sudden it had to get blown out and put out all over the place. I figured I'd get 3 bids, I went through all my contractors in this town for $30,000 job. If they don't deserve the first chance at that job, then I think you guys are doing this wrong.
Our town stipulates anything over 20,000 has to go out to bid. That is the current process. It's not up to us.
It did go out to bid, 3 people.
After it had been, after you had already spoken with them, it had to go back out to bid. The initial process should have been bid first. Anything over 20,000.
Couldn't bid that, you have to know what you bid on. Because the way it reads, Sabino, you could count 20 to the road to the other.
I think we need to have a meeting as selectmen. I think sometimes we feel like we get one selectman over here who has all the answers. I don't want us all to have the same answers. So I still want to pull together a meeting, things so we all have the same answers. So as far as I'm concerned, this is closed, we're done.
Yeah, we covered what we needed to talk about tonight. Thank you, Rob, for coming on short.
You're welcome.
notice.
Thanks for having us.
I appreciate it.
Good night.
The next issue is, I don't know who wants to stay, so I'll let you know what it is.
Nice to meet you.
Michael Hennessy,
guys
West
have a
Bath.
good night.
Thanks, Steve. West Bath, Bath Boundary Line.
This is a subject is what now? 4 years old?
We don't pay your own.
I was on the board.
I'm mostly trying to get, what I really would like to do is just push it along. Backwards, so I can get the extremely promise. Yep. We had it going quite nicely when COVID struck and gas shut down for 2 years. West Bath had that got as far as the town attorney saying
Excuse me.
no. So we need to push it along. I don't think Bath was a problem with it, other than the fact that they have 40,000 other things to do. The nuclear option is to send them a note that you will go inspect the boundary on such and such a date. And if they do not show up, then it starts the whole process, the survey and whatnot, which is not the route that I want to go, but I'm kind of tired of waiting. I asked the city manager in January to talk to Roger about having Roger sign off in West Bath and Bath, do a joint request to the selectmen, to the county commissioners, through the court, to make a determination where the boundary is. He said yes. Then he talked to Brenda. Brenda had this little problem with having to recalculate her taxes, which he gave her priority to. So that hasn't happened. How would you like to push it along? Because I have a letter all written up, which Christine has, that would do the trick, I believe. It just needs a town attorney signature, because I went to the courthouse and they will not accept a set of selectmen signatures. They require an officer of the court to present to the officer to the court.
So your proposal, simplifying, is?
Authorize Christine to find a town attorney who will sign the thing, or B, go nuclear and notify the town, the city of Bath, that you will be there to promulgate the boundaries on such and such a date at such and such a time. And they must show up, or the whole train takes off and hires competing surveyors and this whole 9 yards. But I think it will kick it into gear.
When you and Brenda were meeting back in the last decade, had you arrived at some kind of reasonable demarcation?
We will not, I do not know where the high water mark or the tidal creek was in 1844, and neither does Brenda.
Right.
I have looked virtually everywhere for any firm information in their being.
Yes, I can believe that.
So it will come down to the court appointing county commissioners. County commissioners will make their factual determination, which they have to work very carefully in order to stand up. But that will be it. And I don't particularly care where it is. I just particularly care that there be one.
So your recommendation would be, the first attempt would be to ask our town attorney to sign off on a letter
Mike,
requesting.
can you just for the audience tell them?
Which line, which town line, which back line?
Between the Old Brunswick Road and the mill at Standish's, the bridge at Standish's Creek, which is
The old railroad trestle.
the old,
Oh, okay, that's where it was right there by that big rock. Yeah, beyond it.
which is on the old farm road, there's a bridge, there used to be a bridge, that would be one end. The center of it, which is now destroyed. So somewhere in there is, within 5 feet probably, is one point. The other point is, right now West Bath shows, their tax map is using the new bridge when they moved the railroad in 1820 as being the center of the creek. That ain't true. So West Bath and Bath had their lines crossed like this. Bath is in West Bath, West Bath is in Bath. Not really good.
Same acreage amount? Close to? And the only reason why I'm asking, we just do a boundary line agreement and go that way?
That takes the legislative act. That takes an act of the legislature.
Okay.
And if that starts, we'll see you in 10 years.
Is it, are they both town-owned individual? One town owns one town only owns the other side? Or is it residential property?
I believe that it is some commercial and some to be developed raw land.
But who, is it owned by an individual or owned by the towns?
It's all private land.
So then boundary agreement would be fine?
No.
No, because you get tax maps.
And you get taxes.
So it would be tax revenue. So I think that's where that.
And it's got the road in it.
Right.
And the town is required to maintain the road up to their abutting neighbor.
That's the same as it was 20 years ago. So I heard this 20 years ago.
It's more than 20 years.
Yeah.
My
Let's
boss and
fix
I
it.
got.
I don't think quite back that far.
Let's fix it this decade.
That's kind of my feeling. Brenda and I actually had a very good agreement. Bath was going to go take the highway surveyor and shoot the levels of the current high water mark. And then we would know, other than the 10 inches of tidal increase, where we probably were. So we would get it down to a 15, 20-foot margin on the north end.
By doing all this, what are we gonna lose or gain?
I guess.
We're not taxing what we had shown the tax map because we're not too sure about it, so we're not gonna lose it.
Christina, have you been involved in this dialogue?
Yeah, a little bit, when I can get in. The city manager is very busy, so I tried talking with him a little bit, and then that's when Mike started talking to Brenda. So.
If COVID had, Brenda and I had an agreement, and 2 days later, Bath closed down for a year.
Yeah.
So where's Brenda now?
She has offered her editorial comments on my letter.
Which you have a copy of.
But still not offering to have the boundary
I
shot?
don't think that, I do not think there's any controversy. We both realize there is no answer. I wasn't alive in 1844. I don't even know if the Old Farm Road culvert is the same place it was in 1844.
And Brenda doesn't think that this rises to the level of dispute.
No.
So.
I think we just want to.
Yeah.
Question, are we prepared to, if we go and have them shoot the boundary line, is that something we're prepared to accept? I don't see it as in this move forward, is that, if they're prepared to provide that, are we prepared to accept it?
My concern would be, we have to go to that agreement, you said something about getting surveyors.
I don't think that they would do that. It just forces it onto the table. Because they don't want to pay for surveyors either. And surveyors can't Surveyors know no more about where the high water mark in 1844 was on a tidal creek, which is down behind 2 dams, than I do.
No, but that's my point, is if we move forward, we're prepared as a board to accept that boundary line that's established from their side.
You will have no choice.
Right is right.
No, I'm just saying, we just,
No,
so we
because
can just put it in as a process, if you shoot it, we can agree to it. And
it's
let's do it.
not up to either party.
Right.
It is strictly up to one method, surveyors competing, which ends up in lawsuits.
It costs money.
And Brunswick spends $30,000 with Hartswell and is still not happy. Or it goes to the court, the court appoints county